If you've ever wondered why your strumming sounds different from the recording, then this is for you. I'll show you why strumming is often not just down and up. If you can get those details into your guitar playing, you have reached the next level. So sit back and relax, but have your guitar ready, it's going to be practical. This here is one of the most common strumming patterns on earth. You can find it all over the place. It's on ultimateguitar.com if you look up a song. It's in other videos. It's in my videos as well. And it's often presented either as arrows or Ds and Us for downs and ups. Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't necessarily tell you which strings to play, and that makes so much of a difference. And that's why I prepared 5 variations based on that one strumming pattern that sounds so different. So have a listen. Now the first one is a classic. You differentiate between top and bottom strings. So I do the first downstroke on the top strings and the rest on the bottom strings. Sounds so different, and by top strings I mean the top 3. If you hit the 4th, that's totally fine. And bottom strings, the bottom 3. If you hit 2, that's fine. If you hit 3, that's fine. If you hit 4, that's fine. For the sake of practicing, be more precise when you practice, and when you play, then forget about counting strings. For this next one here, I play the top strings, then bottom strings, then 2 on the top strings, and then 2 on the bottom strings. Have a listen. Before I show you the next one, did you know that you can slow down the playback speed of the video? Just in case you didn't, that is so good, that feature. I use that all the time. So especially if you have live footage of someone playing fast, because it's a different playing if you play slowly or fast. But with that feature, you can slow down all the stuff that you can't follow along with your eyes. So make use of that feature. Here's the next variation. This one here is very similar, although a bit finer in sound. Instead of playing the top strings as a together, you play a single note, a single bass note first. So you play, in that case of G here, the top string only, and then the rest of the strokes you do on the bottom strings. In this one here, a few more single strings involved. So you play the top string first, and then your downstroke on the bottom strings, and then you play the top string, D string, top string, and then the last upstroke is the bottom strings again. By the way, you don't change directions here. It's still the same directions as if you were playing all strings all together. So have a listen. Now there's a last variation, but stay tuned, I have more for you. That was just one strumming pattern. Imagine doing that with all your strumming patterns. Imagine the variation you can get from that, and then mixing them up as you go. I prepared a second strumming pattern, which is like the campfire strumming pattern if you want so. If you play like all strings on that, which is again totally fine, it would sound like so. Here's variation number 1. Again, the classic top strings first and then the rest on the bottom strings. Now this next one here requires a different coordination, so it's top, top, bottom, bottom, top, bottom. Have a listen. Now before we get more into single strings, I can only encourage you, experiment with those sets of strings, see what combinations you can come up with. There's plenty of room for creativity. The first classic for single strings would be bass note first and then the rest on the bottom strings. This next one goes like that. Bass string has a single string, then D string has a single string, and then an upstroke on the bottom strings. Then bottom strings again, D string, and bottom strings again. There's another variation and a special. I wonder how many people can speak along with me. If you need any help with your guitar playing, then check out highguitar.com where you can get one-on-one lessons. I understand how frustrating it is to be enthusiastic about guitar playing but not know where to start or what to do next. And that's why every month I help dozens of people just like you to learn guitar quickly, and I'd love to do the same for you. This one here is almost all single strings, but again I keep that strumming pattern, keep those directions. One extra tip here, I have my little finger touching that scratch plate, that body of the guitar, and that can help to better find those strings. So I promised you a special, here it is. It's a very different groove. So you start with the top strings, and then you do all strings, but this time you do it slowly so that you can hear all the single strings. It feels a bit like pressing into the guitar, pushing into the guitar. And then the rest you do on the bottom strings. Sounds like so. Now you might not be a big fan of guitar picks. I used the Jazz 3 in this video. Just in case, here are all strumming methods without a pick. Enjoy.